evening. We're here for another episode of My Shot. Tonight's is going to be very brief because the subject, even though it is of optimum importance, really is a very brief subject and doesn't really have a leg to stand on. It's the subject of the legality of abortion in the United States. In the infamous Roe versus Wade case, the initial judicial activistic decision, you have to remember, it was never a constitutional amendment. It's just a judicial decision that abortion was legal. Was based on the right to privacy supposedly found in the First, Fourth, Fifth, Ninth, and 14th Amendment. And the only, once again, I have my trusty Constitution with me. And of course, the First Amendment speaks nothing about privacy, but speaks of only abridging freedom of speech, of press, the right of people to assemble, freedom of religion, and the prohibiting the free exercise thereof. The Fourth Amendment says nothing at all, and I mean that just as sarcastically as I put it. It says nothing at all in regards to the abortion issue. The Fifth Amendment, the best we can come up with is I don't have to testify against myself in a court of law. The Ninth Amendment to the Constitution says that no state may enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. And prior to Roe versus Wade, we were not abridging the privileges of murder. And you have to, or we were, but they were considered murder. You have to remember from a biblical point of view, thou shalt not kill is always better stated as thou shalt not murder. Thou shalt not take a life unjustly. We know this from the Old Testament because in Exodus chapter 20, where we have the Ten Commandments, thou shalt not kill appears. And then in chapter 21, Moses goes on writing the rest of the law and tells you all the things that do require the death penalty. So it is thou shalt not take a life unlawfully. Now, I don't have to testify against myself, but I certainly can't misconstrue that as the right to privacy. My right to privacy ends when I decide to take a human life. As to the 14th Amendment, which was used very successfully and very well for gay marriage, once again, there is no connection with the concept of abortion. The state shall not deprive any person of life, liberty, or property. It is not my liberty to take the life of another human being. And I think we would all agree that the embryo in the womb will turn into nothing but a human being. It's never going to turn into a fish. Okay, it's never going to turn into anything else. They've determined recently that the 34th week is the time that a baby first feels pain. Well, I have friends that have children that were born in the 34th week, and they cry just like any other child, and they look like a viable life form. And that's one of the main questions: is the child viable outside the womb? A child isn't viable outside the womb until he reaches probably the age of 2. Can't live for himself, can't feed himself, could never stay out of traffic, could never survive without the aid of adult human beings. So the viability of life is not up for question. And the question that really begs to be asked is, why was Scott Peterson, when he killed his wife Lacey, who was pregnant with a child, and they found Lacey floating separately from the embryo which she discharged? This case occurred in California years ago. Why was he charged with a double homicide if he did not kill a fellow human being when he killed the embryo? It is a plain and simple fact, no matter what Mrs. Clinton thinks, that an embryo has no constitutional rights. All human life has rights. They have the right not to be murdered. Okay, it doesn't have to be constitutional. It can just be in the law of the land. Thou shalt not kill. I thank you very much for your time, and that is all I have to say on the matter.